Okay. And we are live. We have a fancy new intro for sales and messaging. It hasn't uploaded. So what you saw there was still kind of fun and dramatic. It was still kind of building the drama. It wasn't sensible, but it wasn't nonsensical. And I think today that's apropos because we're going to be talking about what we call Noun-Sense, which is if you look at the profile sometimes, or some of our profiles have just title after title after title, um, information that may not be relevant to the message we want to send about our brand or in our sales process. So I'm Hirsch Repoon, brand transformer. Welcome to the show. My colleague,
Dr. Nancy Zaire. I am Sales with Soul. And yes, Hirsch, the landscapers have decided to come and clear the property at this moment. So if perchance you don't hear me, let me know, and I'll mute myself and let you take over. All right.
okay,
Talk
sounds
about
good.
Noun-Sense. They have a lot of tools out.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of tools, but you know what stimulated us to talk about Noun-Sense is the fact that I was recently reading people's LinkedIn profiles, and it came across this particular one, and it was noun after noun after noun after noun after noun. And honestly, nouns don't communicate what we think they're supposed to communicate. Would you agree?
Yes, and I would say though I'm curious. Give an example. Let's give the audience an example of what it might look or sound like if you were to read that.
Consultant, coach, speaker, author, playwright, it on and on and on. And while I think this is true, the person has those kind of credentials.
Yes.
It doesn't tell the prospect who they really are. Like, are you looking for me and what you can do to help me? That is the key to a good profile. Call me out so that I say to myself, you're talking to me, and tell me what benefit I can expect from working with you. That's where profiles shine.
Yes. One way of looking at it is to say that credentials add credibility, but they don't convey your personality. I also have noticed many people come to me with they've got a lot of advanced degrees. They could be working in scientific fields. I have a friend named Joe Templin who has about 10 degrees. Now, if you have 10 advanced degrees, okay, maybe that cumulative impact really works. But everything that you've accomplished should not be itemized in your headline or even your title that you put on your bio or any of those things. I think I prefer, what I find to be more effective, Nancy, is to come up with a 360 view of who you are and what you've done that can be conveyed in a few words, not specifically itemized. They can be in your experience, they can be in your about, but to lead with it, if I'm reading what you're saying as well, to lead with all of that noun sense is just not going to separate you enough from the people that are doing similar jobs.
So let's talk more about this 360 view. I would assume that a 360 view, when you are on a mountaintop, and there's no foliage and there are no buildings obstructing your view. There's a 360 view. But as you are suggesting, we don't want to point out each bush, tree, flower, etc., that brought us up the path. We actually want to pinpoint maybe one or two very important, essential items that make us who we are. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah. And also I think, you know, let's say that I'm just going to make one up, but let's say that someone is a neurosurgeon and they have developed a new technique in neurosurgery, or they speak about neurosurgery now all over the world. At the same time, they build custom doll houses. Okay. Now, and it's quite a side business. It's thriving. It's not just an avocation. So now what do? Do they put neuroscience expert and speaker, custom dollhouse maker, or do they figure out through an actual, conversation, uh, what is the connection? What let's look at this. Let's look at this a little bit more and let's see what the connection is. Let's see why you build these custom doll houses. And
Or
then
why you went into neurosurgery?
well,
Because
yes, of
to
course.
me,
Yes.
both of them, I immediately think of finger dexterity and the sharpness one
Okay.
has. Okay. And so I'm also thinking of meticulousness and detail oriented, because both activities involve to me those qualities. And you're right, Hirsch. See, this is what I appreciate about you and your ability to be a brand transformer, because you're able to take that 360 degrees worth of material and cull it down to the essence of what makes this person unique and what is that contribution that they are providing. Because remember, it isn't the nouns that matter, it's the verbs, what you're going to do for me. I want to know the benefit I get from your being detailed oriented and can do the doll houses. Why would I let you operate on my brain? It's
Right.
because you have that vision and the skill set, that came maybe from making the doll houses.
Yeah, but you kind of nailed it with the dexterity thing, and it made me. It actually called up for me why I threw this example out in the first place, and I'm gonna kind of bring it to the real world because I don't think he'll mind. There's a childhood friend of mine named Evan Rosenfeld, and he is a neurosurgeon, and he went to Harvard, went to medical school, did all of this stuff. Now, when we were kids, he was a cartoonist. And we had actually, with another friend of ours, a greeting card company. I did the copy. He did the art. And when he told me, I said, what are you going to do? And I was visiting him at Harvard, and I said, what are you going to do? And he said, I think I'm going to go into neurosurgery. I think I'm going to be a brain surgeon, is how he said it. He didn't say neurosurgery. He said, I think I'm going to be a brain surgeon. And I said, why? And he said, well, I'm good with my hands. And that was a very interesting way to put it. Now, if he came to me and was saying, I want to combine all of these things, I would say, the art and I would say, let's put in your headline, the art and science of neurosurgery. Let's just put it in there. It conveys that you're artistic. It conveys that you're creative and that there's a science to it and that you have a different perspective than anyone else. That's what I think is the main thing. So instead of all these different things, all this Noun-Sense, even good stuff, why don't we just come up with a direct route to your field?
And that's exactly why this topic interests me, that direct route to what it is you offer your prospects, your clients. You're asking the prospect to fill in the dots and to figure out how things connect when you throw a bunch of nouns at them. Okay, speaker, author. I mean, I get the fact that you have content that you've written, but why would I want to read it or listen to it? See, that's what's missing when we use nouns. We're not talking about the benefit.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not talking about what works, what the end result is. We're just listing. We're just doing a listicle of ourself, and it's not really. I just don't think it conveys a picture or an intent.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
So I also want to suggest, as we're kind of looking at words, etc., what about adjectives? Because here's again where I think people make, trip up, is they put this amazing, brilliant, extra. In fact, many of them right now are what reminds me of AI, because of the fact that they're over the top, overused adjectives. And again, they don't convey an understanding or a picture. They're simply amazing.
Yeah. Well, and all this circles back to, a likability, and who are we? This came up yesterday. Thank you again for joining me on the Earning Your Wealth Respect with Humor and Humanity event. Thank you to all of you who came. It was a wonderful group, and a real opportunity, I think, to engage on this topic. But when it comes to a likability, I mentioned that it's good to know who your prospect is, not just by title, but by personality and by their fit with you. And I think that if we stick to just our degrees and our nouns, we're not quite targeting any particular type of human being. It's just people who are, if you put JD, it's people who are looking for a lawyer. If you put, PhD, it's people who want, a doctor of philosophy.
So I'm gonna go back to that idea of JD. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, attorneys specialize in different parts of the law.
Yes. Yeah.
However, again, the personality of the attorney does matter. And this is where we and they are forgetting that this is where we need to connect. And again, a string of nouns or a string of adjectives are not going to get you to where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. I think, hopefully we've conveyed that, in this brief conversation. Are there any other things that you can add as kind of a button to this week's episode that are good tips when it comes to your LinkedIn profile, the must-haves? Because we spent a lot of time talking about what we shouldn't have, or what we might do to improve our way of talking about ourselves. But in terms of some must-have nouns or other elemental grammatical inclusions.
So here's a must-have: a professional photo. There are a bunch of LinkedIn photos out there that were taken on the fly at a wedding, at a barbecue, at some event. And that's because the person said, oh, I look good in this photo, and maybe it's the only one I got around, and we'll put it up. No, your photo, you don't have a second chance to make a first impression. So that photo is really key, Hirsch. And most people don't realize what's registering subconsciously when they put up their photo.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one. That is a good one too. And interestingly, it isn't just a first impression. It casts an impression over everything else that's there. Let's say that all these things that we're talking about were addressed, and I had put, the art and science of neurosurgery or whatever it was, and my picture was just like, who knows what, just not good.
A martini in hand.
Yeah, well, just not. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
the picture could be like this. The picture could be like this, and you say, "Is that a neurosurgeon you want?" But the old joke about the surgeon who says, I had to quit, and the colleague says, "Why?" And he said, "Well, look at my hand." And he said, "Well, your hand's very still." He said, "Yeah, but I cut with this hand." So.
And so guess what? Your photo cuts
That's right.
as your headline cuts. Hence, you want to make a good cut. And
that's right.
Anyway, we have come to the end of this episode, and there is an outro probably that is going to play. And we apologize ahead of time because this wasn't our outro, but we will hopefully be able to upload it shortly.
But we have a really great outro.
That's right.
We do. It's a really great outro. It's very eloquent, and it's pre-taped, and it's going to be beautiful when we add it right after this moment.
All right. To your sales and messaging success, it's Dr. Nancy Zare, Sales with Soul.
And Hirsch Repun, Brand Transformer. And if you've actually enjoyed this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a colleague, share it with someone who's interested in making a better impression and a bigger impression on the prospects that they talk to.
All right. Here's the